Alright guys, the new patch teaser just came out and it's gonna be a huge one. We have 14 nerfs, 14 buffs, and another nerf for wild, so it's gonna be a long one here. And in this video we're gonna speculate what these changes might be and what this might mean for the meta. So if you're serious about Hearthstone, drop a like and subscribe to the channel, and don't forget you can hire for some Hearthstone coaching. Now let's check out the teaser.
You are not prepared!
Here it is, definitely quite the large one this time, and yeah, 14 cards for standard nerfed, 14 cards buffed. We can see plenty of Starship action happening, and plenty of the heavy hitters for the standard meta as well. Shocking to no one, Quasar Rogue is here, Reska, Threads of Despair, Sleep Under the Stars, Funnel Cake, the Mystery Egg, the Chalice, Everything Must Go, Conman and Seashell, Wave of Nostalgia, Magma, Reno, and Lamplighter. All definitely very good things seeing here are getting addressed. The only thing I'm missing here honestly is Sonya. Honestly, she is living on borrowed time as well, but yeah, do let me know what else you think should have been on the list here. Maybe another Ziliax, like that card cannot get nerfed enough now, could it? Anyways, starting off with the cards one by one and what this might mean, we can see Reno. This is gonna be the third nerf to Reno. He used to be 8 on release, so imagine that. I don't know, is this the second or the third nerf? Either way, it is what it is, but yeah, I feel like the route for Reno here would be to not be removing Starships. I don't know how they're gonna word that, like you can only put so many words in the text box, but definitely pretty sure that they're gonna change Reno in order for Starships to actually have a chance to be played, and not to just get poofed before getting launched even. So yeah, that should be the route we're going here. Like, they're not gonna nerf it to 11 mana, that's for sure. Other speculations were that maybe Reno is gonna remove both your and the opponent's board. Maybe that it's not gonna have the your opponent can't play more than one thing next turn, that kind of deal, but who knows, who knows. I'm pretty sure, the only thing I'm sure here is that he is not gonna be touching unlaunched Starships, so do let me know what you guys think the changes would be. We have Lamplighter here as well. Elemental Mage has been absolutely crushing it. We can see all sorts of different 60+ win rate decks, tons of different games, several different iterations. Like, look at this nonsense, like almost 500,000 games with this thing with 59% win rate. That's no joke. And yeah, this again is the second nerf to Lamplighter. So it is definitely interesting to see how this one might get changed. One way of nerfing this would be to bump it up to 5 mana. That way you're not gonna be dead on turn 8 with like 17 damage to the face out of nowhere. Another thing would be maybe this thing cannot target face anymore, but that's totally destroying the card, so I wouldn't hold my breath for that one. The other thing would be maybe to just limit the damage to a certain point, like 5, 6, 4, something along those lines, who knows. But yeah, definitely is gonna be toning down the win rate for Elemental Mage, but honestly, this is the only nerf to Elemental Mage here, so I do believe it's still gonna remain a pretty top tier deck. I don't believe this is gonna nerf the deck enough for it to be removed from one of the best, basically free-to-play decks for Easy Legend. Seabreeze Chalice is interesting to see here, but indeed, Dollhouse Druid has been quite the powerhouse in Top Legend especially. Not super crazy win rate or anything like that, but very toxic and enjoyable to play. Let's face it, it was one of my guilty pleasures, not gonna lie. I wonder what they're gonna do here. Like, drinks always have 3 drinks in it, so they can't really touch that. Bumping this to 2 mana would be kind of absurd. Would they really remove this going face? That kind of completely kills the card, but crazier things have happened, so we'll see. So yeah, what do you think this might be? We can see Convincing Conman as well in the list, and honestly, I think they're gonna revert it back to his old form. He used to replay the last card you've played from a different class, so this completely wrecks it for mages. And same can be said for Seashell, right? The next card you play from a different class costs 2 less. So this is only gonna be working both of these for Burgo classes, I'd assume. And I, for one, am sick of these repeating absolutely broken things both on paladins and mages. Anything but rogues, basically, which has been quite silly. But yeah, I do believe this card should get contained into the rogue class, both of them. Next up, we have Sleep Under the Stars. Here, the only thing you could really realistically touch is bump up the mana. Haven't really been feeling this card has been that problematic, but I guess, I don't know. It is definitely quite a strong card, so bumping this to 8 mana probably is the way to go. Like, what else could you realistically nerf here? Like, gain 4 armor? Are you really gonna bother with that? I for one doubt it. Like, armor is the last thing you pick out of this anyway, so refresh 2 mana? That's also would be pretty brutal actually, so I don't know. I just think it's gonna be an 8 mana. Next up we have Quasar Rogue. A lot of people refuse to believe this thing is gonna get nerfed despite its horrendously bad win rate. Toxic cards like this simply don't have a place in Standard. As you can see, there were a few lists actually doing above 53. It was actually having some win rate, nothing too crazy, but the whole playstyle of the card was absolutely broken. And you cannot tell me otherwise that this was a healthy way to play Hearthstone, especially when the opponent starts blasting you on literally turn 3. Like, this is not freaking wild, and even if it was, that's also kind of broken now, isn't it? And honestly, I think they should just stop letting cards reduce things below 0, below 1. Like, it should just be no less than 1. We have seen things like this happen before with Sorcerer's Apprentice and such, so something like that could be a way to really solve most of this card's problem. Another thing would be to drastically increase the card to 9, 8, something along those lines. Either way, definitely would not be missing this playstyle for rogues. Another thing for rogues is Everything Must Go, which has also been quite the toxic deck to be facing for rogues. There is a pattern. Rogues seem to be pretty toxic lately. And yeah, Everything Must Go is definitely one of those cards. Right now, the worst thing about this card is you actually effectively always draw it with the help of Robocolors, because when you Shadow Step a Robocolor, he reverts back to 888, and that's why you're running stupid cards like Concert Promo Drake, and that's how you fish out the Everything Must Go, basically very, very reliably that way. So changing the mana cost here, heck, even to 7 mana, it would be a nerf, but more realistically, it's probably gonna go bumped to 9 mana so that they cannot actually fish it out with Robocolor that way. And I do believe this is gonna completely wreck the Robocolor Cycle Rogue, so I for one will not be missing that, even though right now Rogue is in not a very great spot when you nerf this thing for it, but it's just way too annoying to play against stuff like this, and I for one will not miss it. Next up we have Malted Magma, which has been seeing a lot of play in both Shamans and Death Knights, especially with the introduction of the new Ethereal card. Like, I'm actually surprised Ethereal is not on this list. It is definitely the best card from the new expansion. This is just doing way too much for only 3 mana. It's definitely in the 4-drop territory if you ask me, and I was expecting to see it on the lists, but give it some time. Surely it's gonna get nerfed. Maybe not this expansion, but the next expansion probably for sure. It's just way too high play rate for this card, so there's that, but enough about that. Malted Magma, again, like the Chalice, I don't think they're gonna remove drinks here. They're all having free drinks, so you can't really touch that. Bumping this thing to 3 mana would be absurd. So what else can you realistically do here? Like, not go face? Feels like a very small nerf, but still not that small of a nerf, because we have been seeing some spell damage decks like both Shaman burn decks and Corpsicle burn decks that are running some spell damage in the form of Ethereals and Talnos and such, so maybe this thing stops going face, and that would be enough for it to feel okay, but honestly, why bother? I don't think they should have been touching this card at all. I think maybe they should have been touching something else for both the Shaman and the Death Knight class, but they are, so there's that too. Moving down to Wave of Nostalgia, another Shaman card, like we said, and here, the only thing you can realistically change here would be the mana, so bump this to 6, call it a day kind of deal, which is kind of cool, because this gives you one extra turn not to worry about that wide board Shamans are building nice and fast. They can still obviously coin that out with things like Greedy Partner, like plenty of lists are doing this, but they were able to actually do this as soon as turn 3 and turn 4. Now it's going to be more of a turn 5, turn 6 kind of deal. And the good thing here is this is going to be competing with the turn 6 Bloodlust you could be getting from the gift as well, so definitely sounds like a healthy change for the Shaman stuff, and it should be giving a little bit of breathing room for the Starship action to actually start seeing some play. Next up we have Threads of Despair. This thing used to cost 1 mana, guys. This thing used to cost fucking 1 mana. Imagine. This is the second time this card is getting nerfed. Honestly, plenty of ways they can nerf this. They can give it a second Blood Rune. They can give it Unholy Rune, or honestly Unholy would do jack shit though. Like, unless you give it a double of something, you can just still run it in every rainbow deck anyway, so it's kind of whatever. But the other thing you could be doing here is give your minions deal 1 damage to all minions. That kind of kills the cards. Honestly, give your opponent's minions deal 1 damage could be a healthy way as well, but for the Death Knight class, that kind of kills it. I don't know, would they bump this up to 3 mana? Honestly, they can even bump it to 4 mana and 5 mana and still feel kind of okay about it. But yeah, they're definitely gonna be toning down the power for this card, and it has been used in all Death Knight decks that are having a Blood Rune in it, so definitely worth toning down. Another Death Knight card here would be Reska, and this again, I assume, is targeted towards making Starships feel a little bit better, because Reska was actually quite nice of stealing Starships for the opponent. But how do you really nerf this card for it to stop doing that? Honestly, even if you increase the cost of this card, like, what's that gonna do? They're still gonna drop it 2 turns before. They're still gonna be able to drop it 2 turns before you actually want to launch a Starship, so that doesn't really change much. So I don't know. You guys tell me what you think the nerf is gonna be here. Next up, we have Funnel Cake, which has been seeing a good amount of play both in Dollhouse Druid as well as in Zarimi Priest and Cold Priest and such. So this is another very super efficient card that allows some broken things. Like, you can see some 60% win rate decks here, mainly for priests, but don't get fooled. Dollhouse Druid is also abusing this to the max. What the hell is this Dollhouse Druid with Woodland Wonders? That was actually not a bad idea to include. Never really thought about that. But it is what it is. So yeah, Funnel Cake, restore 3 health to minions and its neighbors for each one overhealed. Refresh a mana crystal. How do you really nerf this? Like, what can you really do? For a minion and one of its neighbors? Bump it up to 2 mana? I really don't know. Like, feels kind of weird. Feels kind of weird of a nerf, but maybe we're gonna have to work harder for that extra mana. I guess we'll wait and see how that one goes, but yeah, probably raising the mana price, isn't it? Making it up to 2 mana kind of almost makes it not that amazing to play. Like, it's basically like an Innervate with extra steps. But I guess if you maybe discount it with the help of, for Druids, the Blossom kind of deal, at least this way you're gonna have to work for it a little. The Lifebinder's gift, that is. But as for priests, they can't really do all that much for it, but at least they're abusing the overheal mechanic anyway, so there's that. So maybe it's still gonna be decent enough for them. We also have Mystery Egg here. Hunter has been abusing the egg package quite nicely. They did get a little bit of support with the new extraterrestrial egg as well, and also being able to track with the new legendary card and such has been helping them find their important stuff a lot quicker, and this has made Mystery Egg super efficient. So here, bumping this up to 5 mana, I guess, could slow them down a little bit, or they could be touching the amount of discount for the beast you get out of the egg, but I don't know. My money would be on the making it a 5-drop kind of deal. And lastly, for Wild, we have Order in the Court getting nerfed, and honestly, I really don't know what they're gonna do here. Like, how do you nerf this? Reorder your deck from highest cost to lowest cost, making this to a 3 mana to a 4 mana. Does that really change anything? You're still gonna be able to do the broken Celestial Expanse bullshit, but I don't know. I guess we'll have to wait and see tomorrow to really gauge what this is gonna be doing for the game. That's it for the nerfs. That's a lot of nerfs, like 13 nerfs for standard, 1 for wild. And I do believe this should be paving the way for the Great Dark Beyond cards to actually start shining a little, because for now they really have not been seeing much of play. Like, let's see what kind of play rate are we actually seeing out of those. Like, we can see plenty of cards with about 13 and more % win rate, like definitely above 10. But let's switch it to actually Great Dark Beyond and see what we're looking at. Some cards are somewhat usable, but literally just a handful of the cards, and it's really the broken stuff like Saroon, Airlock Breach, the way with the Elemental BS, and I guess some of the Starship action, but nearly not enough. And also Ceaseless Expanse has been seeing a good amount of play, so we should be seeing a definite rise in play rate for these cards. Not this one though, this one goes down to 0. Surely. So now let's move down to the buffs, where it's a lot more of a guesswork what's gonna be happening. I'm not expecting the buffs to be super crazy, like, feels like the cards need just a little bit extra for them to be really nice. So let's start going through them. Starting with Ascara. This is the Priest Draenei legendary card. Battle Cry. The next Draenei you play summons a copy of itself. Honestly, feels like Draenei Priest is not looking that hot just yet. Then again, you could be abusing this thing with things like Velen and such. So who knows? Maybe it does have some room in it. But as you can see, for now, Draenei Priest is absolutely dead in the water. What can you realistically do about this card? Drop it down to a 4 mana, make it into a 5/5. I don't really know. Like, it feels like not that big a support for this Draenei archetype. Like, are you really expecting this to change 41% win rate? I don't think so, man. Next up we have Deirdre. This is the Demon Hunter Starship bullshit card, and it's definitely a floppy, and it's definitely a floppy mechanic so far. The crewmate action has not been really picking up, as you can see. 30-40% win rate, nothing to write home about for sure. And I'm not sure what you can really do about this card to change much of that. Like, feels like the crewmates are just kind of not there yet, and I'm not sure a single card change would do much in helping that. Like, make this 4 mana 5/5, that's absurd. Drop her down to a 3 mana, I don't know about that. Yeah, it's just weird. I mean, in what world is shuffling 8 bad cards in your deck actually a bonus? Like, if it was shuffle 8 crewmates into your deck, and once you draw a crewmate, you draw your normal card as well, maybe. Could that realistically be the buff? Honestly, that would make the card a lot better. But shuffling 8 bad cards through just the top deck and randomly, like, that just dilutes your deck a lot. And yeah, I don't know about that. Really feels like the whole mechanic is kind of floppy. Another Demon Hunter here, again with the Starship action. We have the 2 mana 1/3 Draenei. At the end of your turn, get a 4/4 crewmate with a random bonus effect. It's a 1/3. Honestly, I wouldn't hate seeing this as a 1-drop. Like, making this into a 1-drop would make it a lot better. What else could you do to make this card better? I really don't know. Like, nothing else really sounds that amazing for me. Moving down to the Libram package, we have Interstellar Star Slicer. And really feels like this thing has way too much durability. Like, the whole point of this weapon is for you to be able to trigger the discount nice and quick, and this thing having free durability, like, if you play this on turn 3, you're gonna wait till turn 6 to actually discount your Librams by 1? What the hell? Like, maybe if you make this discount by 2, then it's gonna be a bit better, but it can also be kind of broken because you can just re-equip another weapon over it. So that might be something, but maybe just dropping this thing's durability kind of sounds like a nerf, so maybe increase the attack as well. So make this into a 3 mana 3/2 instead. Honestly, that kind of sounds like a rebalance, not so much as a buff, but realistically it is a buff because you're using this thing just to discount the Librams anyway. So I guess maybe 3 mana 3/2, or make this into a 2 mana 2/2. Honestly, this being a 2 mana 2/2 would be the best route this thing can go for, because this way you actually get to do something proactive for your Libram shit a lot sooner, because the other option would be the 2 mana battle cry and spell burst bullshit, and you don't even get the spell burst that early, so what's the point of that? On the other hand, you do have instrument deck on turn 2 anyway, but I don't know. The durability is just too much, guys. You gotta be able to break this thing faster. Next up we have Irel, 5 mana 4/3 rush. Death Rattle, get 3 different Librams from an older timeline, and we've already come to learn that you are getting the free Librams, the free OG Librams, the +1, the weapon, and the heal. Honestly, this card felt okay as is. What can you do about it? Like, make it into 5 mana 5/4? Something along those lines? Or just drop the cost altogether, make it a 4 mana 3/3? Or is it still okay as a 4 mana 4/3? Honestly, didn't we used to have 4 mana 4/3 RL before with Rush? I think we did, but she had some other action going for her. But yeah, maybe dropping the cost would help a little, even though getting those Librams from older times, it's not something you're looking forward to that quickly in the game, but then again, it's something to do, I guess. Moving down to some Starship action with Fellfire Thrusters. This is a 3 mana 2/3 spell burst. Deal this minion's attack damage to 2 random enemy minions. And for a Starship piece, it feels a little bit on the expensive side. Like, that's the thing about Starships. You gotta play a bunch of okay-ish cards in order to get a really good thing at the end, just for it to get destroyed with a single removal, or worse, getting stolen. I feel altogether that the Starship pieces should be costing a little bit less, and this thing maybe becoming a 2-mana 2/2 instead would be a step in the right direction. Another card here is the 2-mana 1/3 Druid Shatari Cloakfield. It has elusive. Your first spell each turn costs 1 less. Sitting at 2 mana. Again, it's a 1/3, so making this into a 1 mana would feel a lot better. I don't know, what else could you realistically do to this to make it feel better? Make it into a 2/3? Honestly, that doesn't do all that much, because you're not really happy about attacking with it. You're trying to stick it on the board for longer, so maybe if it's a 1/4, kind of sounds a little bit too much, but who knows. Moving down to the Rogue legendary Starship piece, the Gravitational Displacer. When this is launched, summon a copy of the Starship. Honestly, this felt like a pretty decent Starship piece to have for the Rogue class, but let's not forget the Rogues are actually getting pretty random stuff when it comes down to the Starship pieces. We can see it's a fun little archetype, but nowhere near competitive. It's kind of a meme deck so far, so they are gonna need some support here, and several different cards are getting buffed for the Rogue stuff, so definitely not bad. Again, going down for the cheap route, I'd say. 4 mana, 4/3. Still sounds pretty okay to me. It's a Starship. It doesn't do anything when you drop it for 5 mana, I imagine. I think definitely dropping the cost should be the way to go again. Next up is the Starship Schematic. It's a 1 mana, discover a Starship piece from another class. It's a 1 mana spell already, so what could you actually do to this card to make it better? I really don't know. But again, it's part of a pretty wonky deck, so it definitely needs some support. But yeah, you guys tell me, what do you think this is gonna be the change here? Because personally, I don't really see it. Like, how do you really change this when it's already pretty bare bone? Like, what else can you do? Dropping it down to 0? Kind of weird, honestly, but who knows. We also have the 2 mana 3/2 Draenei, Scrounging Shipwright. Death Rattle, get a random Starship piece from another class. It's a 2 mana 3/2, already decently statted for a free drop. Maybe 1 mana 1/2 or 1 mana 2/1. So you can actually do this on 1 more effectively. Like, kinda sounds like a good idea. I don't know. Guess we'll see how that one goes tomorrow. Exodar is also getting changed, and honestly, Exodar felt like one of the best things. Like, you can actually see plenty of good decks with Exodar. Feels like here they're buffing a good card that's already good to make it even better. And we all saw how things like that pan out for cards like Razzlers and shit, so not a big fan of this card being on the buff list. Maybe they're gonna do something little to it, but what's that gonna be? Like, make it into a 7/10 or something? Like, is that even worth including in patch notes? I mean, I guess it's still a change, but I don't know. So yeah. Again, what do you guys think they might be doing to this one? We also have the neutral Starship piece, Dimensional Core, sitting at a 3 mana 3/2 Divine Shield. Feels pretty classic to me, like borderline mediocre. We had 4 mana 4/2 with Divine Shield in Classic, so what is this even? So maybe make this into a 2 mana 2/2 Divine Shield could make it a little bit better. It's definitely not gonna make you go out of your way to actually play it, so that would help. But again, you can see that it's part of only bad Starship decks, so you can't even include it in any of the Starship decks, despite it being neutral, like, imagine. So it's definitely on the pretty bad side right now. And the almost last card on the buff list is the Ace Wayfinder. It's a 5 mana 5/5 Draenei. Battlecry, gain 2 random bonus effects. The next Draenei you play gains them as well. Honestly, this feels super random to me, so what I would like on a card like this is maybe discover 2 random bonus effects. Would that make it insane? I mean, the bonus effects are 7 or 8 right now, aren't they? So, is this that bad? I don't know. Personally, I would like to see this one getting the Discover slapped to it. Like Battlecry, discover 2 random bonus effects. The next Draenei you play gains them as well. Sounds a lot better. As you can see right now, it's absolute trash. And lastly, we have the Astral Vigilant, a 1 mana 1/1. Battlecry, get a copy of the last Draenei you play, and what can you really do about this? It's not really a 1-drop, like, you don't want to be playing this on turn 1. So I wouldn't actually hate seeing this being a 2-drop with better stats instead. because it's really not a 1-drop. You don't want to be keeping this in your mulligan as a 1-drop, so what's the point of it being 1-drop? I would definitely prefer this being a 2-mana 2/3 or something along those lines, you know? But yeah, that's about it for the teased cards so far. Definitely a lot to go over, definitely a lot to speculate with. Tomorrow, same time, same place, they will be releasing the actual patch notes, and we will go over those in detail again. So we will be able to speculate a bit more how that is gonna actually affect the meta, but it's obvious they are gonna be trying to make the Starship playstyle a lot more playable, and all of these cards are gonna be nerfed so that some of the new expansion stuff actually starts shining. I am personally happy to see so many changes happening, because the meta definitely did not get at all changed by the new cards. Like, the only thing that changed was Elemental Mage broke everything, and everybody had to really try and play around it. So with all of these changes to board control and stuff like that, with all of the dominant old meta decks getting nerfed, the new stuff is gonna start shining. On the other hand, nerfs like this definitely feel wrong, because if you are a budget player, this basically forces you not to be playing your old good meta decks and try to build some new meta decks instead, but I don't know, maybe it's a fair price to pay, so we can actually get some novelty out of it. Anyway, that's gonna be for the video, guys. Hope you enjoyed, and hope this helps you figure out what to expect on tomorrow's patch. It will be launching tomorrow as well, so hold tight, we will go over it and speculate what are gonna be the new best decks after that. Hope you enjoyed, and if you did, a like and subscribe would definitely be very helpful. And yeah, thanks for watching. I'm Kris05, and I'll see you in my next video or stream.